Maria Santos looked at her watch as she walked up the long driveway. It was 7:30 in the morning, and the sun was just starting to come up. She had been coming to this big house for 15 years now. Every Tuesday and Friday she would wake up early, take two buses, and arrive at the Wellington mansion before 8 a.m. The house was huge. It had 23 rooms, 5 bathrooms, and a kitchen bigger than Maria's entire apartment. The front yard was so big that it took her 5 minutes just to walk from the street to the front door. There were beautiful flowers everywhere, cut grass that looked like a green carpet, and a fountain that made soft water sounds all day long. Maria carried her old blue bag with all her cleaning supplies. The bag was heavy, but she was used to it. Inside were bottles of soap, cleaning cloths, rubber gloves, and everything else she needed to make the house shine. Her hands were rough and had small cuts from years of cleaning, but Maria was proud of her work. She always made sure everything was perfect. Today was different from other days. It was summer break, so her 16-year-old daughter Sophia was with her. Sophia had long black hair that she always kept in a neat ponytail. She was quiet and polite, just like Maria had taught her to be. Sophia carried a small backpack with her school books. Even during summer, she liked to read and study. They walked to the back door of the house. Maria had her own key because Mr. Wellington trusted her. She had never broken anything or taken anything that didn't belong to her. She was always on time and always did good work. That's why she still had this job after so many years. "Remember the rules, Mia," Maria said to her daughter as they walked inside. She always spoke to Sophia in English when they were at work. "Don't touch anything. Stay in the kitchen. If you need the bathroom, use the small one near the kitchen. Don't go into the other rooms." Sophia nodded. She had heard these rules many times before. She understood that her mother's job was important. This job paid for their small apartment, their food, and Sophia's school supplies. Without this job, they would have big problems. The kitchen was the biggest room Sophia had ever seen. It had white marble counters that were cold to touch. There were 2 big refrigerators, a stove with 6 burners, and cabinets that went all the way to the ceiling. In the middle was a large island where Sophia would sit and do her homework while her mother worked. Maria put on her rubber gloves and started working. She began in the kitchen, wiping down all the counters, cleaning the stove, and making sure the floor was spotless. She worked fast but carefully. Every movement had a purpose. She had cleaned this house so many times that she could do it with her eyes closed. While Maria worked, Sophia opened her backpack and took out a book. She was reading about music history for fun. She loved learning about famous musicians and composers. Her favorite was a man named Chopin who wrote beautiful piano music. She had never heard his music played on a real piano, but she could imagine how it would sound. As Maria moved from room to room, Sophia could hear her footsteps on the marble floors. The house was so big that sometimes Maria's voice would echo. When she called out to check if Sophia was okay, the house felt empty and cold, even though it was full of expensive things. From where she sat in the kitchen, Sophia could see into the main living room. There was a huge black piano there. It was the most beautiful thing in the whole house. The piano was shiny and perfect, like something from a fairy tale. Sophia had been coming to this house for 2 years now, and she had never seen anyone touch that piano. It just sat there, looking lonely. Sophia wondered what it would feel like to press those white and black keys. She wondered what sounds would come out, but she would never touch it. That would break her mother's most important rule. Mr. Wellington was rich, very, very rich. He had made his money with computers and technology. He owned 3 houses, 5 cars, and even a small airplane. He wore expensive suits and watches that cost more than Maria made in a whole year. But he wasn't mean to Maria. He just acted like she wasn't really there most of the time. Maria had told Sophia that rich people lived in a different world. They had different problems and different worries. Mr. Wellington worried about his business and his money. He went to important meetings and traveled to faraway places. He didn't think about things like buying groceries or paying rent. The house had many expensive things. There were paintings on the walls that cost thousands of dollars. There were vases from China and carpets from faraway countries. Everything was perfect and clean and beautiful. But to Sophia, it felt like a museum. Pretty to look at, but not a real home where people laughed and talked and lived. As the morning went on, Sophia could hear Maria working upstairs. She was cleaning the bedrooms and bathrooms. Maria always started downstairs and worked her way up. Then she would come back down and do the final touches. She would make sure every surface was clean, every mirror was shining, and every floor was spotless. Sophia looked at her book, but her eyes kept moving to the piano. She tried to imagine what it would be like to sit on that bench and put her fingers on those keys. She had learned to play piano at her church. The piano there was old, and some keys didn't work very well. But it was where she had fallen in love with music. Every day after school, Sophia would walk to St. Mary's Church. It took her 40 minutes each way, but she didn't mind. Mrs. Chun, an old Chinese lady, taught her how to play. Mrs. Chun had been a real piano teacher many years ago. Now, she was retired, but she still loved music. She taught Sophia for free because she said Sophia had a gift. Sophia didn't know if she really had a gift. She just knew that when she played piano, she felt happy. The music made her forget about everything else. She could play for hours and never get tired. But the piano at church was so different from the beautiful black piano in Mr. Wellington's living room. At noon, Maria came back to the kitchen for lunch. She looked tired but satisfied. Half the house was done. She sat down next to Sophia and opened her lunch bag. She had brought sandwiches for both of them. "How is your book, Mia?" Maria asked. "It's good, Mama. I'm learning about a composer named Chopin. He wrote the most beautiful piano music." Maria smiled. She was proud that her daughter loved to learn. Even though Maria had never finished high school, she made sure Sophia always did well in school. Education was the way to a better life. As they ate their lunch, they could hear a car in the driveway. Mr. Wellington was coming home earlier than usual. Richard Wellington stepped out of his silver car and walked toward his house. He was talking loudly on his phone about some business deal. His voice carried across the yard as he spoke about millions of dollars like other people talked about buying groceries. He was a tall man with gray hair and expensive clothes. Everything about him said money. Maria quickly finished her sandwich and stood up. She always made sure to look busy when Mr. Wellington was around. Not because he was mean, but because she wanted to show respect for his home. Sophia quietly put her book away and tried to make herself smaller at the kitchen island. "I don't care what the lawyers say," Mr. Wellington was saying into his phone as he walked through the front door. "We need this deal closed by Friday or we're walking away." His voice echoed through the big house as he moved from room to room. Maria went back to her cleaning. She was working on the dining room now, dusting the long wooden table where Mr. Wellington ate his meals alone most nights. The table could seat 12 people, but Maria had rarely seen more than 2 or 3 people use it. Mr. Wellington finished his phone call and wandered into the kitchen to get a bottle of water from the refrigerator. He noticed Sophia sitting quietly at the island. "Oh, right. Summer break," he said, more to himself than to anyone else. He had forgotten that Maria sometimes brought her daughter during school holidays. "What's your name again, kid?" "Sophia, sir," she answered softly, looking down at her hands. "Right, Sophia. How old are you now?" 16, sir." Mr. Wellington nodded and drank his water. He looked around his kitchen as if seeing it for the first time. His eyes moved from the expensive appliances to the marble counters to the fancy light fixtures. He owned all of this, but most days he just grabbed coffee and left for work. "Your mother does good work," he said. "House always looks perfect." "Yes, sir, she works very hard. I'm sure she does." Mr. Wellington paused, then seemed to remember something. "Oh, I'm having some people over for dinner tomorrow night. Important business partners. Make sure your mother knows to do the dining room twice, and the main living room needs to be spotless." "I'll tell her, sir." Mr. Wellington finished his water and started to leave the kitchen. But then he stopped and turned back to Sophia. "You like music, kid?" Sophia was surprised by the question. Yes, sir. What kind of music? All kinds, sir. But I really like classical music. Piano music especially. Mr. Wellington raised his eyebrows. He hadn't expected that answer. Most kids her age liked pop music or rap. Piano music? That's interesting. Do you play? Sophia hesitated. She wasn't sure if she should talk about herself too much. A little, sir. A little, huh? Mr. Wellington seemed amused. Well, I've got a piano in the living room. Big expensive thing. Cost me more than most people make in a year. But nobody in this house plays it. It just sits there looking pretty. Sophia didn't know what to say to that. She just nodded politely. Mr. Wellington walked toward the living room, and for some reason, Sophia felt like she should follow him. She got up from her chair and walked quietly behind him. She had never been in the main living room before. It was even more beautiful than she had imagined. The room was huge, with high ceilings and big windows that let in lots of light. There were expensive sofas and chairs arranged around a marble coffee table, paintings hung on the walls in gold frames. And in the corner, like a sleeping giant, sat the black piano. There it is, Mr. Wellington said, pointing to the piano. Steinway Grand, top of the line. The salesman told me it was the same kind they use in concert halls. I bought it because, well, rich people are supposed to have pianos, right? He walked over to the piano and opened the lid that covered the keys. The white and black keys seemed to glow in the afternoon light. Sophia had never seen anything so beautiful. My ex-wife said she was going to learn to play, Mr. Wellington continued. That lasted about 2 weeks. My kids weren't interested either. So now it's just decoration. Expensive decoration. Sophia stared at the piano. Her fingers were itching to touch those perfect keys. She wondered if they were tuned properly. She wondered what they would feel like under her hands. You know what? Mr. Wellington said suddenly. Why don't you give it a try? Sophia's eyes went wide. Sir? The piano. Go ahead and play something, just for fun. Oh, no, sir, I couldn't. My mother said I shouldn't touch anything in your house. Your mother's not here right now. And I'm telling you, it's okay. Come on, kid, make some noise. This house is too quiet anyway. Sophia looked around nervously. She could hear Maria working upstairs, the sound of the vacuum cleaner running in one of the bedrooms. Maria had no idea what was happening downstairs. I don't know, sir. Look, it's my piano in my house and I'm giving you permission. What's the worst that could happen? You play a wrong note? Big deal. Mr. Wellington seemed to be enjoying this. Besides, I'm curious. Most kids would jump at the chance to play a piano like this. Sophia took a small step toward the piano. Her heart was beating fast. She had dreamed about playing a real piano like this one. But she was also scared. What if she broke something? What if her mother got in trouble? Go on, Mr. Wellington said. Don't think about it so much. Just play something. Sophia took another step closer. The piano bench was made of the same dark wood as the piano. It looked like it had never been used. She could see her reflection in the shiny black surface of the piano. What should I play, sir? I don't know, whatever you want. Something you learned at school, maybe? Sophia almost told him that she didn't learn piano at school. She almost explained about Mrs. Chun and the church piano. But something stopped her. Maybe it was better if Mr. Wellington thought she was just a kid who knew a little bit about piano. Okay, she said quietly. Just for a minute. She sat down on the bench and adjusted it to the right height. The bench was perfect, much better than the old wooden chair she used at church. She looked at the keys and took a deep breath. Mr. Wellington stood behind her, checking his phone again. He was probably expecting her to play Mary Had a Little Lamb or something simple like that. Something that would amuse him for 30 seconds before he got bored and went back to his business calls. Sophia put her hands on the keys. They felt smooth and cool under her fingers. She pressed one key gently, then another. The sound was perfect. Rich and clear and beautiful. This piano was tuned perfectly. She started to play something simple at first. Just a few scales to get used to the feel of the keys. But the piano was so responsive, so perfect, that she couldn't help herself. She began to play one of her favorite pieces. The music filled the big room like water filling a glass. It was Chopin, the same composer she had been reading about in her book. The melody was soft and sad and beautiful. Her fingers moved across the keys like they had been born to be there. Mr. Wellington stopped looking at his phone. He looked up at Sophia with surprise. This wasn't what he had expected at all. The music got more complex. Sophia's left hand played a gentle rhythm while her right hand danced over the higher keys. She closed her eyes and let the music take her away. For a moment she forgot where she was. She forgot that this wasn't her piano, wasn't her house. She was just playing music and nothing else mattered. The sound was incredible. The piano responded to every touch, every emotion she put into the music. It was like the difference between riding a bicycle and driving a race car. Everything she had learned on the old church piano was still there, but now she could express it the way it was meant to be expressed. Mr. Wellington stood very still, listening. His phone buzzed with messages, but he ignored it. He had never heard piano music like this in his own house. He had been to concerts before, fancy events where famous musicians played for rich audiences. But this was different. This was happening right here, right now. In his living room, Sophia played for several minutes, moving from one piece to another. She played music she had memorized, music that lived in her heart. The piano sang under her fingers, filling the empty house with something it had never had before, soul. When she finally stopped playing, the silence seemed louder than the music had been. Sophia opened her eyes and remembered where she was. She quickly pulled her hands away from the keys, like she had been touching something hot. "I'm sorry, sir," she said. "I got carried away." But Mr. Wellington wasn't angry. He was staring at her with a look she had never seen on his face before. It was surprise, confusion, and something else. Respect, maybe. "Where did you learn to play like that?" he asked. Sophia's face turned red. She looked down at her hands, which were still trembling a little from playing. "I take lessons, sir." Mr. Wellington sat down in one of his expensive chairs. He was looking at Sophia like he was seeing her for the first time. "Lessons? Where?" "At my church, sir, St. Mary's." "St. Mary's, that little church on 5th Street?" "Yes, sir." Mr. Wellington knew that church. He drove past it sometimes on his way to the country club. It was old and small in a part of town where most of the houses needed paint and the yards needed work. He had never thought much about it before. "Who teaches you there?" "Mrs. Chun, sir. She used to be a real piano teacher. Now she volunteers at the church." "And she taught you to play like that?" Sophia nodded. She wasn't sure if Mr. Wellington was angry or impressed. His voice sounded strange, like he couldn't believe what he had just heard. The vacuum cleaner upstairs stopped running. In the quiet house, they could hear Maria's footsteps moving from room to room. She was probably finishing up the bedrooms and would be down soon to do the final cleaning in the main rooms. "Play something else," Mr. Wellington said suddenly. "Sir?" "I want to hear more. Play something different." Sophia hesitated. "I should probably get back to the kitchen, sir. My mother will be worried if she can't find me. Your mother works for me. I'm telling you to play piano. Play something else." Sophia had never heard Mr. Wellington speak with such intensity. She looked at the piano keys again. They seemed to be calling to her. At church, she had to share the piano with other people. She only got to practice for an hour at a time. But this piano was just sitting here, waiting. She sat back down on the bench and thought about what to play. She decided on a piece by Mozart that Mrs. Chun had taught her last month. It was faster than the Chopin piece, more cheerful and bright. Her fingers began to move across the keys. The Mozart piece was like a conversation between her two hands. The left hand would play something, and the right hand would answer. Then they would play together in harmony. The music bounced and danced around the big room. As she played, Sophia forgot about everything else again. She forgot about the expensive furniture and the fancy decorations. She forgot about being scared of breaking something. She just played, but she wasn't alone this time. Other people were listening. Carmen, the cook who came in 3 days a week, had heard the music from the kitchen. She was standing in the doorway, her mouth open in surprise. She had worked in this house for 5 years and had never heard the piano played. James, the gardener, had come inside to get a drink of water. He stopped in the hallway when he heard the music. He was a big man with dirt under his fingernails, but he loved music. His grandmother had played piano in church when he was little. Even Maria had heard the music. She was upstairs, but the sound carried through the whole house. At first, she thought Mr. Wellington had turned on some classical music on his expensive sound system. But as she listened more carefully, she realized it was live piano playing. And it sounded familiar. Maria's heart started beating fast. She knew that playing style. She had heard it many times before, late at night when Sophia practiced on their old electric keyboard with headphones on. But this was different. This was full and rich and powerful. Maria dropped her cleaning supplies and ran downstairs. She needed to see what was happening. When she got to the living room, she couldn't believe her eyes. Her daughter was sitting at Mr. Wellington's piano, playing Mozart like she was born to do it. Her fingers moved with confidence and grace across the keys. The music was beautiful and perfect, but Maria was also terrified. "Sophia!" she said loudly. The music stopped suddenly. Sophia spun around on the piano bench, her face white with fear. "Mama, what are you doing? Get away from there right now." Sophia started to stand up, but Mr. Wellington held up his hand. "Wait," he said. "Maria, it's okay. I asked her to play." Maria looked confused and scared. "Sir, I told your daughter to play the piano. I had no idea she could play like this." Maria looked back and forth between her daughter and her employer. She had worked so hard to keep this job. She had followed every rule, been respectful and professional for 15 years. And now her daughter was playing with Mr. Wellington's expensive piano like it was a toy. "I'm so sorry, sir," Maria said. "She knows better than to touch your things. It won't happen again." "Maria, listen to me," Mr. Wellington said. He stood up and walked closer to her. "Your daughter is incredibly talented. I've never heard piano playing like that outside of a concert hall." Carmen and James were still standing in the doorways, listening to every word. They had never seen Mr. Wellington talk to Maria like this before. Usually he just gave orders or asked questions about the cleaning. Now he was talking to her like she was a real person. "She's been taking lessons," Maria said quietly. "At our church. I didn't know she was this good." "How long has she been playing?" 8 years, sir. Since she was 8 years old." Mr. Wellington looked amazed. 8 years? And she's never played on a real piano before? "The church has a piano, sir. It's old, but it works." Sophia was still sitting on the piano bench, not sure what to do. She felt like she was in trouble, but Mr. Wellington didn't seem angry. He seemed excited almost. "Show me your hands," Mr. Wellington said to Sophia. Sophia held out her hands. They were small but strong. Her fingertips had small calluses from years of practice. Mr. Wellington looked at her hands like they were something precious. "These are the hands of a real musician," he said. "Do you know how rare it is to find someone with this much natural talent?" Sophia shook her head. She had never thought of herself as especially talented. She just loved to play music. "Mrs. Chun says I'm good," Sophia said quietly. "But she says that to all her students." "I doubt that," Mr. Wellington said. He turned to Maria. "Where did you say your daughter takes lessons?" "St. Mary's Church, sir. Mrs. Chun volunteers there. She teaches piano to kids from the neighborhood." "And what does Mrs. Chen charge for lessons?" Maria looked embarrassed. "Nothing, sir. She does it for free. She says music should be available to everyone, not just people who can afford it." Mr. Wellington was quiet for a moment. He was thinking about something. Around them, the house felt different. The music had changed the feeling of the place. It felt warmer, more alive. "Play the first piece again," Mr. Wellington said to Sophia. "The Chopin." Sophia looked at her mother. Maria nodded slowly. She was still scared, but she could see that Mr. Wellington was genuinely interested in Sophia's playing. Sophia turned back to the piano and began to play the Chopin Nocturne again. This time she played it even better than before. She was more relaxed now, and the music flowed like water. Every note was perfect. Every phrase was shaped with emotion and understanding. As she played, Carmen wiped tears from her eyes. The music reminded her of her childhood in Mexico, where her mother had sung lullabies with the same kind of gentle sadness. James thought about his grandmother, who had died when he was 12. She had played hymns in church every Sunday, and the music had made him feel like he could touch heaven. Maria watched her daughter and felt proud and scared at the same time. She had always known Sophia was special, but she had never imagined that anyone else would notice, especially someone like Mr. Wellington. When the music ended, Mr. Wellington clapped his hands slowly. "Incredible," he said. "Absolutely incredible." He walked over to the piano and looked at it like he was seeing it for the first time. "I bought this piano 4 years ago," he said. "It cost $80,000. I bought it because my decorator said it would look good in the room. I had no idea what I was buying." $80,000. Maria made $12,000. A year working for Mr. Wellington. The piano cost more than 6 years of her salary. "This piano has been sitting here silent for 4 years," Mr. Wellington continued. "And now, today I find out that the daughter of my housekeeper can make it sing like an angel." He turned to look at Sophia again. "How often do you practice?" "Every day, sir, for about 4 hours." 4 hours every day?" "Yes, sir. After school, I walk to the church and practice until they close. Then I go home and practice some more on our keyboard." Mr. Wellington shook his head in amazement. "Most kids your age spend 4 hours a day playing video games or watching TV. You spend 4 hours practicing piano?" "I love it, sir. When I play music, I feel like I'm home." Those words hit Mr. Wellington harder than he expected. He lived in this big, expensive house, but he never felt at home here. It was just a place to sleep and eat and show off to business partners. But this 16-year-old girl had made his cold house feel like home with just a few minutes of music. "Maria," he said, turning to face her, "we need to talk." Maria's hands started shaking. When rich people said, "we need to talk," it usually meant someone was getting fired. She had heard those words before from other employers. Before she came to work for Mr. Wellington, usually it meant she had done something wrong. "Yes, sir?" she said quietly. "Not now," Mr. Wellington said. "Finish your work first. But before you leave today, come find me. We have a lot to discuss." Carmen and James quietly went back to their own work. They could tell this was a private family matter now, but they were both thinking about what they had just seen and heard. The music had been beautiful, but the bigger story was even more interesting. Mr. Wellington looked at his watch. "I have a conference call in 10 minutes, he said. "But first, I want to know more about your training, Sophia." Sophia was still sitting on the piano bench. She felt like she was in a dream. 20 minutes ago, she had been quietly reading in the kitchen. Now she was having a conversation with Mr. Wellington about music. "Tell me about Mrs. Chun," Mr. Wellington said. "She's wonderful, sir. She's 72 years old, and she came to America from China when she was young. She studied music at a famous conservatory in Beijing before she came here." "A conservatory? You mean a real music school?" "Yes, sir. She was training to be a concert pianist. But when she came to America, she had to work other jobs to survive. She taught piano lessons at home to make extra money. She never got to have the music career she dreamed of." Mr. Wellington sat down again. He was learning things about his own community that he had never known before. "And now she teaches at the church for free?" "Yes, sir. She says that in China her teacher gave her the gift of music. Now she wants to give that gift to other people. She teaches 12 students at the church. Most of them are kids like me whose families can't afford regular piano lessons. How did you meet her?" Sophia looked at her mother. This was a story they didn't talk about much because it brought back sad memories. "Tell him, Mia," Maria said. Softly, "My father died when I was 8, Sophia said. "He had cancer. After he died, my mom was very sad, and I was sad too. The people at church tried to help us. One day, Mrs. Chin heard me humming a song during Sunday service. She asked me if I wanted to learn to play piano. Mr. Wellington didn't say anything. He just listened. At first, I didn't want to. I didn't want to do anything fun. I miss my papa too much. But Mrs. Chun was very patient with me. She said music could help me feel better. She said when we play music, we can talk to people who are no longer with us. Sophia's voice got softer. She was right. When I play piano, I feel like my papa is listening. I feel like he's proud of me. Maria wiped her eyes. She had never heard Sophia explain it that way before. So you've been playing for 8 years? Mr. Wellington said, every day, for 4 hours. Yes, sir. Sometimes more on weekends. And you walk to the church every day? Yes, sir. It takes about 40 minutes each way, but I don't mind. The walk gives me time to think about the music I want to practice. Mr. Wellington did some quick math in his head. 40 minutes each. Way meant Sophia spent more than an hour walking every day, just to practice piano. That was dedication he rarely saw even in his business world. What kind of music do you play? Everything Mrs. Chun teaches me, classical music mostly. Bach, Mozart, Chopin, Beethoven, but also some modern pieces. And sometimes I play hymns for church services. You perform in church? Sometimes, sir. When they need someone to play for special services, but I get nervous when people are watching. Mr. Wellington thought about what he had just heard. This girl had been performing in public, and he lived just a few miles away but had no idea. Talent like this existed in his own community, and he had been completely unaware of it. Have you ever competed? In piano competitions? Sophia looked at her mother again. This was another sensitive topic. A few times, Sophia said quietly. And? She's won every competition she's entered, Maria said with pride. But we can't afford to travel to the bigger competitions. The local ones are free, but anything outside the city costs money we don't have. Mr. Wellington was beginning to understand the situation. Here was a girl with extraordinary talent, but she was limited by circumstances beyond her control. She could only go as far as her family's budget would allow. What competitions has she won? He asked Maria. The citywide youth music competition, 3 years in a row, the regional church music festival, the community college scholarship audition last spring. Scholarship audition? Yes, sir. The community college offers one music scholarship each year. Sophia won it. She'd be able to take college-level music classes for free while she finishes high school. This was getting more and more interesting. Mr. Wellington had served on scholarship committees for various organizations. He knew how competitive these programs were, especially for music. Who judged the scholarship audition? 3 music professors from the college and 1 guest judge. From the university, Maria said. They said they had never heard a high school student play at that level. And what did they recommend? Maria hesitated. This was the part that kept her awake at night, worrying about Sophia's future. They said Sophia should audition for the State University's music program. They said with her talent, she could probably get a full scholarship to study music. But the audition process is expensive. You have to travel to different cities, pay application fees, hire professional accompanists for the auditions. Even if she got a scholarship, we couldn't afford the costs of just applying. Mr. Wellington was quiet for a moment. He was thinking about his own children, who were grown now. They had gone to expensive private schools and fancy colleges. They had taken piano lessons, violin lessons, tennis lessons, sailing lessons. They had every opportunity money could buy. But neither of them had shown the kind of passion and dedication he was seeing from Sophia. His daughter had taken piano lessons for 6 years and quit because it was too hard. His son had been given every advantage in life and had barely graduated from college. And here was a girl who walked 40 minutes each way, every day, just for the chance to practice music. Where does she practice at home? Mr. Wellington asked. We have a small electric keyboard, Maria said. It was a gift from the church when Sophia won her first competition. It's not the same as a real piano, but she can use headphones so she doesn't disturb the neighbors. An electric keyboard. Mr. Wellington's daughter had quit piano after 6 years of lessons on a brand new baby grand piano. Sophia had learned to play like a professional on an electric keyboard in an old church. Piano. Show me her hands again, Mr. Wellington said. Sophia held out her hands once more. Mr. Wellington looked at them more carefully this time. He could see the small calluses on her fingertips from years of practice. He could see the strength in her small fingers. These were working hands, hands that had earned every bit of skill they possessed. "Do you want to be a professional musician?" he asked Sophia. I don't know if that's possible, sir. That's not what I asked. I asked if you want to be a professional musician. Sophia thought for a moment. She had dreamed about it many times. She had imagined herself playing in concert halls, wearing a beautiful dress, making music for hundreds of people. But those were just dreams. Dreams were for people who could afford to chase them. "Yes, sir," she said quietly. "More than anything." "Then we have a lot of work to do," Mr. Wellington said. His phone started buzzing. The conference call was starting? He looked at his phone, then at Sophia, then at Maria. "I have to take this call," he said. "But Maria, when you're finished working today, bring Sophia to my office. We're going to figure out how to make some things happen." He started to leave. The room then turned back. "Sophia, how would you feel about practicing on this piano sometimes?" Sophia's eyes went wide. "Sir? This piano needs to be played. It's been silent too long. If you're going to be a professional musician, you need to practice on professional instruments." I couldn't, sir. What if I damaged it?" Mr. Wellington smiled for the first time that day. "Kid, you just made this piano sound better than it has since the day I bought it. I think it's safe in your hands." As he walked away to take his phone call, Maria and Sophia stood in the beautiful living room, not sure what had just happened. The piano sat there, still gleaming in the afternoon sun, waiting for more music. "Mama," Sophia whispered. "What do you think he wants to talk about?" Maria put her arm around her daughter. "I don't know, Mia. But I think our lives are about to change." For the rest of the afternoon, Maria worked faster than she had ever worked before. She cleaned every surface twice, vacuumed every carpet until it was perfect, and made sure every mirror was spotless. But her mind wasn't on her work. She kept thinking about Mr. Wellington's words, "We need to talk." Sophia sat in the kitchen, but she couldn't focus on her book. Every few minutes, she would look toward the living room where the piano waited. She could still feel the smooth keys under her fingers. She could still hear the beautiful sound the piano had made. It was like waking up from a wonderful dream and then realizing it had been real. At 5 o'clock, Maria finished her last task. She had cleaned the house perfectly, just like she did every Tuesday and Friday, but today felt different. Today, she was nervous about something other than just doing good work. "Come on, Mia," she said to Sophia. "It's time." They walked through the house to Mr. Wellington's office. Maria had cleaned this room many times, but she had never sat down in it. It was a big room with dark wood furniture and walls covered with awards and photos of Mr. Wellington with important people. There was a huge desk with 3 computer monitors and stacks of papers. Mr. Wellington was sitting behind his desk, talking. "On the phone again?" When he saw them, he held up one finger to let them know he would be done soon. No, he was saying into the phone. "The price is too high. We need to cut costs by at least 20% or the deal is off." He listened. "For a moment, I don't care what they say. 20% or we walk away." Maria and Sophia stood quietly by the door, waiting. Maria felt small in this big office. Everything in the room was expensive and important. She was used to being invisible in this house, just cleaning and leaving. Now she was supposed to have a conversation with her employer about her daughters. Future. Mr. Wellington finished his call and put down the phone. "Sorry about that," he said. "Sit down, please." There were 2 leather chairs in front of his desk. Maria and Sophia sat down carefully. The chairs were soft and comfortable, much nicer than any furniture they had at home. "First," Mr. Wellington sighed, I want to apologize for putting you in an awkward position today. Maria, I asked your daughter to play the piano without thinking about how that might affect your job. That was thoughtless of me. It's okay, sir, Maria said quietly. No, it's not okay. You've worked for me for 15 years. You've been reliable and trustworthy and professional. I should have been more careful. Maria didn't know what to say. Mr. Wellington had never apologized to her for anything before. But I'm glad it happened, he continued, because now I know something I should have known a long time ago. Your daughter is extraordinarily talented, he turned to look at Sophia. I've been thinking about what I heard today. I've made some phone calls. I called a friend of mine who knows about music education. Sophia's heart started beating faster. I told him what I heard and he wants to meet you. His name is Dr. Martinez, and he's the head of the music department at the State University. Maria's eyes went wide. The State University was where rich kids went to school. It was expensive and exclusive and far away from their neighborhood. Dr. Martinez is coming here tomorrow, Mr. Wellington said. He wants to hear you play. Here, sir? Sophia asked. Yes, here. On my piano. I told him about your situation, about how you've been learning on an old church piano. He said he needs to hear what you can do on a proper instrument, Maria found her voice. Sir, we can't afford university tuition. Even with a scholarship, there are other costs. I know, Mr. Wellington said. That's why I want Dr. Martinez to hear her play. If he thinks she's as talented as I think she is, we can figure out the money part later. Sophia looked at her mother, then back at Mr. Wellington. What if I'm not good enough? What if he doesn't think I'm special? Sophia, Mr. Wellington said, leaning forward in his chair, I've heard professional musicians who don't play as well as you do. Trust me, you're good enough. He opened a drawer in his desk and pulled out a piece of paper. I also made another call today. To Mrs. Chun at your church. You called Mrs. Chun? Sophia asked. I wanted to hear what she had to say about your abilities. She told me some very interesting things. Mr. Wellington looked at the paper. She said you learned in 3 years what takes most students 6 years to learn. She said you have perfect pitch, which means you can identify any musical note just by hearing it. She said you can play a piece perfectly after hearing it only 2 or 3 times. Sophia had never thought of these things as special. They just seemed normal to her. Mrs. Chin also told me that she's been buying sheet music for you with her own pension money. She's been spending her own money because she believes in your talent. Maria felt tears in her eyes. She had known Mrs. Chun was kind, but she hadn't known about the sheet music. Mrs. Chun thinks you should be studying with a professional teacher, Mr. Wellington continued. She says she's taught you everything she can, and now you need someone who can take you to the next level. But we can't afford professional lessons, Maria said. That's where I come in, Mr. Wellington said. I have a proposal for both of you. He stood up and walked around his desk. Sophia, I want you to start practicing on my piano. Every day, when your mother comes to work, you can practice for as long as you want. Sophia couldn't believe what she was hearing. But I also want to arrange for you to have proper lessons. I'm going to hire a professional piano teacher to come here twice a week and work with you. Sir, Maria said, we can't pay for that. I'm not asking you to pay for anything. I'm offering to pay for everything. The room was quiet for a moment. Maria and Sophia looked at each other, not sure what to say. Why? Maria asked finally. Why would you do this for us? Mr. Wellington was quiet for a moment. Do you know how I made my money, Maria? Computers, sir. Technology. That's right. I started a company when I was 22 years old. I had a good idea, but I didn't have any money. A man named Robert Chun invested in my company when no one else would. He believed in my idea when nobody else did. Chun? Sophia said, like Mrs. Chun? That's right. Robert Chun was Mrs. Chun's husband. He died 5 years ago. Maria and Sophia stared at him. I never knew Mrs. Chun was married to Robert. I never made the connection until today when I called the church and heard her full name. Robert Chun gave me my start in business. Without him, I would never have succeeded. Mr. Wellington sat back down. Robert Chun invested in my future when I was young and had nothing. Now I want to invest in your daughter's future. But, sir, Maria said, what if she doesn't succeed? What if this doesn't work out? Then at least we'll know we tried. But Maria, I heard your daughter play today. I know talent when I see it. This is going to work out. He pulled out another piece of paper. I've already spoken to Dr. Martinez about scholarships. If Sophia auditions well, the university will pay for her tuition, room, board, and books. The only costs will be travel and audition fees, and I'll take care of those. Sophia felt like she was in a dream. 3 hours ago she had been reading about famous musicians. Now she was being offered the chance to become one. There's one more thing, Mr. Wellington said. I want to buy you a piano for your home. Sir, no, Maria said quickly. That's too much. Not a big one like this, he said, pointing toward the living room. A smaller one, a good digital piano that you can practice on at home. Mrs. Chen told me you practice late at night on a keyboard with headphones. A real piano teacher will want you to practice on something better. Maria was shaking her head. Sir, this is all too much. We can't accept all this. Why not? Because ... Because we can't pay you back, Mr. Wellington smiled. I'm not asking you to pay me back with money. I'm asking you to let your daughter become the musician she's meant to be. That's payment enough, he looked at Sophia. What do you say? Are you willing to work hard? Professional music training is not easy. It means practicing even more than you do now. It means learning difficult pieces. It means performing in front of people. Sophia thought about all the hours she had spent walking to and from the church. She thought about all the times she had wished she could practice longer, or learn harder pieces, or play on a better piano. She thought about her father and how proud he would be if he could see her now. Yes, sir, she said. I want to try. Good, Mr. Wellington said. Then we start tomorrow. Dr. Martinez will be here at 2 p.m. I want you to prepare 3 pieces to play for him. Choose your best ones. He stood up, which meant the meeting was over. Maria, you don't need to work tomorrow. Both of you should be here at 1:30 p.m. This is going to be an important day for your family. As they walked out of the office, Sophia whispered to her mother, Mama, is this really happening? I think so, Mia, Maria whispered back. I think our prayers are being answered. That night, Sophia couldn't sleep. She lay in her small bed, staring at the ceiling and thinking about everything that had happened. Her mother was in the kitchen making phone calls to family members and telling them the incredible news. But Sophia was scared. What if she disappointed Dr. Martinez? What if she wasn't as good as Mr. Wellington thought she was? She got up and went to their tiny living room, where the old electric keyboard sat on a folding table. She put on her headphones and practiced the 3 pieces she planned to play the next day. Even with headphones on, she played more quietly than usual. She didn't want to wake the neighbors. The next morning, Maria woke up early even though she didn't have to work. She ironed Sophia's best dress and made sure her shoes were clean. They ate breakfast together, but neither of them could eat much. They were both too nervous. At 1:15 p.m., they arrived at the Wellington mansion. Mr. Wellington met them at the front door, which was unusual. He was wearing a nice suit instead of his casual clothes. How are you feeling? He asked Sophia. Nervous. Sir, she admitted, that's normal. All great musicians get nervous before important performances. The key is to use those nerves to play even better. They went into the living room where the piano was waiting. Someone had cleaned it until it shined like a mirror. There were fresh flowers on the coffee table, and the room looked even more beautiful than usual. At exactly 2 p.m., the doorbell rang. Mr. Wellington went to answer it and came back with a man who looked to be about 50 years old. He was tall and thin, with gray hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. This is Dr. Martinez, Mr. Wellington said. Dr. Martinez, this is Maria Santos and her daughter Sophia. Dr. Martinez shook hands with both of them. It's very nice to meet you, he said with a slight accent. Richard has told me some amazing things about your playing, Sophia. I'm very excited to hear you. Sophia felt her hands getting sweaty. Dr. Martinez seemed nice, but she knew this was the most important audition of her life. "Before you play," Dr. Martinez said, "tell me a little about your musical background." Sophia told him about Mrs. Chun, about the church piano, about the competitions she had won. Dr. Martinez listened carefully and asked thoughtful questions. He seemed genuinely interested in her story. "And you practice 4 hours a day?" "Yes, sir, sometimes more on weekends." "What do you love most about playing piano?" Sophia thought for a moment. "I love how music can tell a story without words. When I play, I can express feelings that I can't say out loud." Dr. Martinez smiled. "That's a very mature way to think about music. Now let's hear what you can do." Sophia walked to the piano and sat down on the bench. She adjusted it to the right height and took a deep breath. Her first piece was the Chopin Nocturne that had impressed Mr. Wellington the day before. As soon as she started playing, her nervousness disappeared. The music took over and she forgot about everything else. She played with even more emotion than she had the day before, pouring her heart into every note. When she finished, Dr. Martinez was writing notes on a small pad. "Beautiful," he said. "What's your second piece?" Her second piece was a Mozart sonata that Mrs. Chun had taught her. It was faster and more technical than the Chopin piece. Her fingers danced across the keys with precision and grace. The melody was bright and cheerful, like sunshine after a storm. Dr. Martinez wrote more notes. "Excellent technique," he said. "And your third piece?" For her final piece, Sophia had chosen a Bach prelude. It was the most difficult piece she knew, with complex rhythms and intricate hand coordination. She had practiced it hundreds of times, but it still challenged her every time she played it. As she played, Dr. Martinez leaned forward in his chair. This piece really showed off her technical skills. Her left hand played a steady bass line while her right hand wove a beautiful melody above it. The two hands worked together like they were having a conversation. When she finished, the room was completely quiet. Dr. Martinez was writing more notes and his face was serious. Sophia couldn't tell if he was impressed or disappointed. Finally, Dr. Martinez put down his pen and looked at her. "Sophia, how long did it take you to learn that Bach piece?" "About 2 months, sir." 2 months. He looked surprised. "That piece usually takes my university students 6 months to master." He stood up and walked over to the piano. "May I?" he asked, gesturing to the bench. Sophia moved over, and Dr. Martinez sat down next to her. "I want to test something," he said. "I'm going to play a melody, and I want you to play it back to me." He played a short, complex melody that Sophia had never heard before. When he finished, she played it back perfectly, note for note. "Remarkable," he said. "Let's try something harder." This time, he played a longer piece with both hands. It was more complicated, with harmony and rhythm changes. Sophia listened carefully, then played it back with only 2 small mistakes. "Incredible," Dr. Martinez said. He turned to Mr. Wellington and Maria. "In 25 years of teaching, I have only met 3 students with this level of natural ability." Sophia felt her heart pounding. Was that good or bad? "Sophia," Dr. Martinez said, "you have what we call perfect pitch and an exceptional musical memory. These are gifts that cannot be taught. You either have them or you don't." He stood up and walked around the room, thinking, "Your technique is very good, considering you've had limited access to professional instruction. Your musical understanding is far beyond your years. And your emotional connection to the music is what separates good musicians from great ones." "Does that mean ... Sophia started to ask, but couldn't finish the question. "It means," Dr. Martinez said with a big smile, "that I want you to audition for our university program in the spring. I believe you have an excellent chance of earning a full scholarship." Sophia felt like she might faint. Maria started crying. Mr. Wellington was smiling bigger than anyone had ever seen him smile. "But," Dr. Martinez continued, "you will need more advanced training before then. The university audition will require pieces that are much more difficult than what you played today." "I understand, sir," Sophia said. Richard tells me he's arranging for private lessons. That's exactly what you need. I can recommend some excellent teachers in the area. Dr. Martinez pulled out his business card and handed it to Sophia. I want you to call me once a month to update me on your progress. I'll also send you a list of pieces you should learn for the audition. He shook hands with everyone again. Sophia, you have a rare gift. With the right training and a lot of hard work, you could have a wonderful career in music. After Dr. Martinez left, the three of them sat in the living room, still amazed by what had just happened. I can't believe it, Maria said. My daughter might go to the university. She's going to do more than that, Mr. Wellington said. She's going to be a professional musician. Over the next few weeks, things changed quickly. Mr. Wellington hired a piano teacher named Ms. Rodriguez, who came to the house twice a week. Ms. Rodriguez was strict but kind, and she immediately began teaching Sophia more advanced techniques. You have been self-taught for too long, Ms. Rodriguez said on their first lesson. You have some bad habits we need to fix. But your natural talent is extraordinary. Ms. Rodriguez gave Sophia new pieces to learn that were much harder than anything she had played before. The music was beautiful but challenging. Sophia had to practice 6 hours a day now instead of 4, but the biggest change was that Sophia could practice on Mr. Wellington's piano every day. The difference was incredible. On the old church piano, she had to work around broken keys and poor sound. On Mr. Wellington's piano, every note was perfect and rich and beautiful. Word began to spread around the community about Sophia's talent and her new opportunity. People at church were proud and excited. Mrs. Chun cried when she heard the news. I always knew you were special, Mrs. Chun told her. But I never dreamed you would have an opportunity like this. Some of Mr. Wellington's friends heard about Sophia too. At first, they were just curious about the maid's daughter, who could play piano. But when a few of them heard her perform, they became genuine supporters. Richard, his friend Charles said after hearing Sophia play at a small gathering, this girl could play at Carnegie Hall someday. I know, Mr. Wellington replied. That's exactly what we're working toward. The house felt different now. Before, it had been quiet and cold, like a museum. Now there was music every day. The piano that had sat silent for 4 years was finally being used the way it was meant to be used. Carmen, the cook, would sometimes stop her work just to listen when Sophia practiced. That music makes everything better, she told Maria. It makes this house feel like a real home. Even Mr. Wellington found himself coming home earlier some days, just to hear Sophia practice. He had bought the piano to impress visitors, but now he understood what music could really do. It could transform a space, and more importantly, it could transform lives. Maria, he said one evening, I want to thank you. Thank me, sir, for what? For raising such an incredible daughter. And for letting me be part of her journey, Maria smiled. Thank you, sir, for seeing her talent and giving her this chance. As they talked, they could hear Sophia practicing upstairs in the living room. The music floated through the house like a gentle breeze, filling every corner with beauty and hope. 3 months into Sophia's new training, everything seemed perfect. She was learning faster than anyone had expected. Ms. Rodriguez was amazed by her progress, and Dr. Martinez called every month with encouraging words. But then reality started to set in. Sophia, Dr. Martinez said during one of his monthly phone calls, I have some important information about the university audition. Sophia was sitting in Mr. Wellington's office, taking the call on speakerphone so her mother and Mr. Wellington could hear too. The audition is in March, which is 6 months away. You'll need to travel to the university campus for 3 days of testing. There will be solo performances, sight reading tests, music theory exams, and interviews. That sounds challenging, but I think I can handle it, Sophia said. I'm sure you can. But here's the thing. If you're accepted into our program, you'll need to move to the university in August. You'll live in the dorms like other students. Sophia's heart sank. She hadn't really thought about what going to university would mean. She had been so focused on the music that she hadn't considered the practical details. The university is 300 miles away, Dr. Martinez continued. Students only come home for major holidays. Most of your time will be spent on campus, studying and practicing. After the phone call ended, the office was quiet for a long time. Finally, Maria spoke. 300 miles away, she said softly. Sophia looked at her mother and saw something she had rarely seen before. Fear. Not fear of failing, but fear of being left alone. Mama, I don't have to go, Sophia said quickly. I can stay here and keep taking lessons with Ms. Rodriguez. No, Maria said firmly. This is your dream. This is your chance. But over the next few weeks, the weight of the decision grew heavier. Maria tried to hide her feelings, but Sophia could see the sadness in her mother's eyes. They had never been apart for more than a day or two. They were each other's only family. The situation became more complicated when Maria got some bad news. Her landlord was raising the rent on their apartment by $200 a month. On her current salary, she couldn't afford the increase. We'll have to move, Maria told Sophia one evening. I found a smaller apartment across town, but it's not in a safe neighborhood. Sophia felt terrible. Here she was, practicing on an expensive piano and taking professional lessons, while her mother was struggling with basic expenses. Maybe I should get a job, Sophia said. I could work after school and help with money. Absolutely not, Maria said. Your job is to study music. That's your future. But Sophia could see the stress on her mother's face. Maria was working longer hours at other houses to try to make extra money. She was tired all the time, and Sophia worried about her health. Things got worse when Maria's old car broke down. The repair would cost $800, which was money they didn't have. Without a car, Maria would have to take 3 buses to get to work, which would add 2 hours to her already long day. I can't do this to you, Mama, Sophia said one night. I can't go away to school when you need me here. You can and you will, Maria said. I didn't sacrifice all these years just so you could give up your dreams now. But sacrifice was exactly what worried Sophia. She was starting to understand how much her mother had given up for her education. Maria could have remarried and had an easier life. She could have taken a job with better pay but less flexibility. Instead, she had chosen to work for Mr. Wellington because the schedule allowed her to be home when Sophia needed her. Miss Rodriguez noticed that Sophia's playing was becoming tense and distracted. What's wrong? She asked after a particularly difficult lesson. Your technique is fine, but your heart isn't in the music. Sophia explained about her mother's financial problems and her guilt about leaving for university. I see, Ms. Rodriguez said thoughtfully. You know, some of the greatest musicians in history faced similar dilemmas. They had to choose between personal loyalty and artistic fulfillment. What did they do? Different things. Some gave up music for family. Others found ways to honor both their art and their loved ones. That conversation stayed with Sophia for days. She started making mistakes during practice, which had never happened before. Her mind was divided between the music and her worries about her mother. Mr. Wellington noticed the change too. Sophia's playing was still technically excellent, but it lacked the joy and passion that had made it so special. One evening, he asked Sophia to stay after her lesson. Talk to me, he said. What's going on? Sophia told him everything about the rent increase, the broken car, her mother's exhaustion, and her own guilt about leaving. Mr. Wellington listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. Sophia, he said finally, do you think your mother would be happier if you gave up music to stay home and help her? Maybe. I don't know. I think I do. I've watched your mother for 15 years. I've seen how proud she is of your accomplishments. Taking away her chance to see you succeed would break her heart. But what if she can't manage without me? What if she can't manage the guilt of knowing she held you back? That question hit Sophia hard. She had been thinking about her own guilt, but she hadn't considered her mother's perspective. I have an idea, Mr. Wellington said. But I need to talk to your mother first. The next day, Mr. Wellington asked Maria to come to his office after work. Sophia waited nervously in the kitchen while they talked. Maria, Mr. Wellington said, I have a proposition for you. Yes, sir? I need a house manager. Someone to oversee the other staff, manage schedules, handle maintenance issues, and make sure everything runs smoothly. Maria looked confused. Sir, you already have Carmen and James and the other workers? Yes, but I don't have anyone coordinating all of them. I don't have anyone I trust to handle the details while I'm traveling. I spend too much time dealing with household issues when I should be focusing on business. I don't know if I'm qualified for that kind of work, sir. You've been managing my household indirectly for 15 years. You know this house better than anyone. You're reliable, trustworthy, and you pay attention to details. Mr. Wellington pulled out a piece of paper. The position would pay $60,000 a year, plus health insurance and a retirement plan. Maria's eyes went wide. That was 5 times what she currently made. But sir, why would you offer me this? Because I need someone I can trust in this position. And because I don't want your daughter to give up her dreams because of money problems. Sir, this feels like charity. It's not charity, Maria. It's a job offer. You would earn every penny of that salary. Managing a house this size is a full-time job, and I've been doing it badly because I don't have time. Maria was quiet for a moment. What about when Sophia goes away to school? Then you'll be busy enough with work that you won't have time to be lonely. And you'll have enough money to visit her at school whenever you want. And if she doesn't get into the university, then she keeps studying music here while she applies to other schools. But Maria, she's going to get in. I've heard her play. There's no doubt in my mind. Maria started crying. Sir, I don't know what to say. Say yes. Say you'll take the job? Say you'll let your daughter chase her dreams without worrying about you. When Maria and Mr. Wellington came out of the office, Sophia could tell from their faces that something important had happened. Mia, Maria said, Mr. Wellington has offered me a new job. As Maria explained the offer, Sophia felt a huge weight lifting from her shoulders. Her mother would be financially secure. She would have meaningful work that used her skills and experience. And Sophia could pursue music without guilt. But there's one condition, Mr. Wellington said to Sophia. You have to promise me that you'll give everything you have to this opportunity. No holding back, no playing it safe. If we're going to invest in your future, you have to be willing to invest everything in it too. I promise, Sophia said without hesitation. That night, for the first time in weeks, Sophia played with complete freedom and joy. The music flowed from her heart through her fingers to the keys. She played pieces she had been struggling with, and suddenly they were easy. She played with passion and precision and perfect emotional expression. Ms. Rodriguez called the next day. Whatever happened yesterday, she said, keep doing it. That was the best I've ever heard you play. Sophia smiled. I stopped worrying about everything except the music. Good, that's where you need to stay, mentally. The audition is only 3 months away. 3 months to prepare for the most important performance of her life. 3 months to transform from a talented student into a serious musician. 3 months to prove that Mr. Wellington's faith in her was justified. But for the first time, Sophia felt ready for the challenge. The months leading up to the audition passed quickly. Sophia practiced 8 hours a day now, preparing 5 different pieces that would showcase all aspects of her musical ability. Miss Rodriguez pushed her harder than ever before, and sometimes Sophia felt like she couldn't possibly learn everything she needed to know, but something magical was happening. The more she practiced, the more natural the music became. Her fingers found the keys without her having to think about it. The complex rhythms and harmonies started to make perfect sense. She was becoming the musician she was meant to be. Maria began her new job as house manager, and she was excellent at it. She coordinated schedules, supervised repairs, and managed the household budget with skill and efficiency. Mr. Wellington wondered how he had ever managed without her. You know, he told her one day, I offered you this job because I wanted to help your family. But it turns out you're helping me much more than I'm helping you. Maria smiled. It feels good to be needed for my mind, not just my hands. In February, 1 month before the audition, Dr. Martinez came to hear Sophia play again. This time she performed all 5 of her audition pieces. When she finished, Dr. Martinez was quiet for a long time. "Well," Mr. Wellington asked, "how does she sound?" "She sounds," Dr. Martinez said slowly, "like a professional musician. I have university students who have been studying for 2 years who don't play at this level." Sophia felt a mixture of pride and terror. If she was that good, then the expectations would be even higher. "The competition will be fierce," Dr. Martinez warned. "Students will come from all over the country. Some will have been studying at prestigious music schools since they were 5 years old, but none of them will want it more than Sophia does." Mr. Wellington said firmly, the week before the audition, something unexpected happened. Mrs. Chun, Sophia's first piano teacher, asked to speak with her privately. "I have something for you," Mrs. Chun said. She handed Sophia a small jewelry box. Inside was a simple silver pin shaped like a treble clef. It was old and tarnished, but beautiful. "This belonged to my teacher in China," Mrs. Chun explained. "She gave it to me when I graduated from the conservatory. She told me to pass it on to a student who truly understood music." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "Mrs. Chun, I can't take this." "You must," Mrs. Chun said gently. "I never had the chance to become the musician I dreamed of being." "But you do. This pin represents all the hopes and dreams of musicians who came before you. Wear it during your audition and remember that you carry the music of many generations in your heart." Sophia pinned the treble clef to her audition dress and wore it every day during practice for the rest of the week. Finally, the day of departure arrived. Mr. Wellington had arranged for a car to drive them to the university. Maria, Sophia, and Mr. Wellington would all make the trip together. As they loaded their bags into the car, Sophia looked back at the house that had changed her life. Through the window, she could see the piano where she had spent so many hours practicing. It seemed to be waiting for her return. "Ready?" Mr. Wellington asked. Sophia took a deep breath. "Ready?" The drive to the university took 6 hours. Sophia tried to practice in her head, running through her pieces mentally. But mostly, she stared out the window and thought about how much her life had changed in less than a year ago. She had been just another girl from a poor family, dreaming impossible dreams. Now she was on her way to audition for one of the best music programs in the country. Sometimes life could change in ways you never imagined. They arrived at the university in the evening and checked into a hotel near campus. Sophia barely slept. That night, every time she closed her eyes, she heard music in her head. The next morning, they walked around the campus. It was beautiful, with old brick buildings and tall trees. Students hurried between classes, carrying books and musical instruments. Sophia tried to imagine herself as one of them. "This could be your home for the next 4 years," Maria said. Softly, "It feels right," Sophia replied. "It feels like where I'm supposed to be." The audition was scheduled for 2 p.m. in the university's concert hall. When they arrived, Sophia saw dozens of other students warming up, practicing scales and difficult passages. Some looked confident and relaxed. Others looked as nervous as she felt. "Remember," Ms. Rodriguez had told her, "don't listen to anyone else practice. Focus only on your own music." Sophia found a practice room and ran through her pieces one more time. Her fingers felt good and the music flowed naturally. She was as ready as she would ever be. At 1:45 p.m., all the auditionees were called into the concert hall. It was the most beautiful room Sophia had ever seen. The ceiling was high and decorated with gold details. There were hundreds of red velvet seats, and on the stage sat a magnificent black grand piano that made even Mr. Wellington's piano look small. Dr. Martinez stood at the front of the room with 4 other professors. "Welcome, everyone," he said. "Today, 12 of you will be selected for our program. We know you're all nervous, but remember, you wouldn't be here if you weren't already exceptional musicians." The auditions began. One by one, students were called to perform. Sophia listened to some incredible playing. A girl from New York played a Rachmaninoff piece that was technically perfect. A boy from California performed a Beethoven sonata with incredible passion. As she waited, Sophia touched the treble clef pin on her dress and thought about Mrs. Chun, about her father, about all the people who had believed in her dreams. "Sophia Santos," Dr. Martinez called. This was it. Sophia walked to the stage on shaking legs. The piano seemed enormous under the bright stage lights. She could see Maria and Mr. Wellington sitting in the third row, smiling encouragingly. She sat down at the bench and adjusted it carefully. The piano keys felt smooth and perfect under her fingers. She looked out at the professors who would decide her future. "I'll be performing 5 pieces today," she said, her voice stronger than she felt. "I'd like to begin with Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major." She placed her hands on the keys and began to play. Immediately, all her nervousness disappeared. This was the piece that had started everything, the piece she had played for Mr. Wellington on that first day. But now she played it with a year of additional training and a lifetime of additional emotion. The music filled the concert hall like golden light. Every note was perfect, every phrase shaped with deep understanding. She played with the confidence of someone who belonged on that stage. When the nocturne ended, she moved seamlessly into her Mozart sonata. Her fingers danced across the keys with precision and joy. The professors were writing notes, but their faces showed admiration. Her third piece was the Bach prelude that had impressed Dr. Martinez at her first audition. But she played it even better now, with more maturity and technical skill. The complex rhythms were effortless, the harmony clear and beautiful. For her fourth piece, she performed a modern composition that Ms. Rodriguez had taught her. It was challenging and unusual, showing that she could handle contemporary music as well as classical pieces. Finally, she played a piece of her own choice, a Chopin ballade that she had learned specifically for this audition. It was the most difficult piece she had ever attempted, full of dramatic contrasts and technical challenges. But she played it like she had been born to perform it. When the last note faded away, the concert hall was completely silent. Sophia looked out at the audience and saw tears in her mother's eyes. Mr. Wellington was smiling prouder than she had ever seen him smile. The professors were writing. Furiously, Dr. Martinez looked up and nodded at her. "Thank you, Sophia. That was extraordinary." As she walked off the stage, Sophia felt like she was floating. She had played better than she had ever played in her life. She had given everything she had to give. The results would be announced that evening. The waiting was agonizing. Sophia, Maria, and Mr. Wellington had dinner at a restaurant near campus, but none of them could eat much. At 7 p.m., they returned to the concert hall. All the auditionees and their families gathered to hear the results. Dr. Martinez took the stage with an envelope in his hand. "First, let me say that the level of talent we heard today was exceptional. Choosing only 12 students from this group was incredibly difficult." He opened the envelope. "When I call your name, please come to the stage." He began reading names. Jennifer Chun from New York, Michael Rodriguez from California, Sarah Johnson from Texas. Sophia's heart was pounding so hard she could barely hear. One by one, students walked to the stage. 8 names had been called. Only 4 spots left. David Kim from Washington, Lisa Thompson from Florida, Robert Miller from Illinois, 11 names. 1 spot left. Sophia felt sick to her stomach. Dr. Martinez looked directly at her. "And our final scholarship recipient, Sophia Santos, from right here in our home state." Sophia couldn't move. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't believe what she had heard. "Go, Mia," Maria whispered, pushing her gently. Sophia walked to the stage in a daze. She stood with the 11 other students who would be her classmates for the next 4 years. As she looked out at the audience, she saw Mr. Wellington wiping his eyes, and her mother crying tears of joy. Later at the hotel, the 3 of them sat together and tried to process what had happened. "I still can't believe it," Sophia said.